Good morning, everybody. It is 9:15-ish on Sunday morning, Central Time, and my name is Tracy Brown, and welcome to the CSLDallas Science of Mind Sunday class. And yes, I'm hesitating because, as I was saying right before we went live, wait a minute, what day is it? Where am I? What city am I in? I am right here in at CSL Dallas. And for those of you who are online, Ryan's probably reminding you to please tell us where you are, what city, what state, what country, what universe, where are you dialing in from this morning? Every Sunday, we open the Science of Mind textbook written by Ernest Holmes, which is the foundation for our philosophy, our faith, and the way that we live. And today we are going to focus on page 420. We're in the general summary, and the general summary actually does exactly that. It summarizes everything that Ernest Holmes put in the book for 350 or 380 pages. And then he takes, 20, 25 pages to summarize the key points. So last week we talked about the mystic and what it means to be a mystic. And we're still in the section where he talks about mystics and then brings that forward. So let's take a deep breath and 5 seconds of silence. And dive in. So I'll start reading at the bottom of 319 just for context, but we are going to be focusing on page 420. Since we see that personality is what one does with your individuality, we should turn within, as have all the great mystics who have blessed the world with their presence. We should turn within and find God. And we should have a sense of a real presence when we do turn toward the one and the only presence in the entire universe. One of the most illuminating truths which mysticism has revealed is that there is no ultimate reality to evil. Repeating. One of the most illuminating truths which mysticism has revealed is that there is no ultimate reality to evil. No devil, no damnation outside of one's state of thought, no punishment outside of that self-inflicted through ignorance, and no salvation outside of conscious cooperation with the infinite. Consequently, the mystics have taught that the answer to every problem is in humanity's own consciousness. In each of our own consciousness, that is the answer that is, you may have heard us talk about, for every problem, there is a spiritual solution. I think Wayne Dyer even used that as one of his book titles. But in New Thought philosophy, we've taught that for a long, long time. And this paragraph reminds us when we've gone from awareness and understanding about our faith and the science mind principles to practical application or practicing using them, that we begin to live the principles in an intuitive way, in a way of knowing. And when we know that, we know the problem is within. We know there is, in this paragraph, no reality to evil, no devil, no damnation, and really no punishment and no salvation. outside of our own consciousness, individual consciousness and collective consciousness. I want to add that because while we focus primarily on what's my responsibility and how do I apply, we also know and talk about how we are all contributing to the collective consciousness and to the collective experience. And so sometimes the way that conditions show up is a result of collective consciousness. What we do about those conditions is totally up to our individual consciousness. That makes sense? Okay, so be thinking of examples, and I'm going to read that paragraph again. If you just joined us, we're on the top of page 420, and this is the first full paragraph on that page. One of the most illuminating truths which mysticism has revealed is that there is no ultimate reality to evil, no devil, no damnation outside of one state of thought, no punishment outside of that self-inflicted through ignorance, and no salvation outside of conscious cooperation with the infinite. Consequently, the mystics have taught that the answer to every problem is in one's own consciousness. So be thinking of times or examples in your life where either you remembered and realized that there is no damnation outside of one state of thought, or you didn't know that and you created something different in your life, or that there's no punishment outside of that self-inflicted through ignorance. So if you have an example in your mind of when you finally got that and how it changed your life, we'll be open to that in a few minutes. Next paragraph. It is one thing to say that God is unfolding through his idea of himself, but quite another thing to say that he is gradually becoming conscious of himself. An unfolding God implies a forever outpouring spirit and a forever manifesting deity. Evolution is the time and the process through which an idea unfolds to a higher state of manifestation. And since ideas are simply divine realities, evolution will go on forever. Evolution is an effect. It's an effect, but I'm emphasizing the E so you know I'm not saying affect. Evolution is an effect of intelligence and not the cause. Evolution follows involution. Okay, do not get confused by that. Focus on what came before it. It's one thing to say that God is unfolding through her idea of herself, but quite another thing to say that she is gradually becoming conscious of herself. So there's a difference between an idea of an infinite spirit has of itself and becoming conscious. So I am unfolding not just from my idea of myself in the human form, but I'm becoming more, I'm evolving as I become more conscious and aware of the infinite potential that has already been placed in me, that is always available for me to explore, to express, to expand, to evolve. I didn't remember this page having so much. I guess we really are not going to get beyond page 420 today. So yeah, let's see if I want to go on to the next paragraph. I do. All emerge from that one whose being is ever present and whose life, robed in numberless forms. Repeat. All emerge from that one whose being is ever present and that one whose life, robed in numberless forms, is manifest throughout all creation. Creation is the logical result of the outpush of life into self-expression. It is the coming forth of spirit into manifestation. The one encompasses and flows through all, filling itself into numberless forms and personalities. These forms and personalities, propelled by the cosmic urge which brings them into being, have within themselves an impulse planted by the divine. And since the divine is limitless and perfect, it must and ultimately will bring all creation into a state of perfect manifestation. Now, I don't know if I have anybody in the room or anybody online who is like, whew, but see, I just spent 4 days at a conference that had a whole lot of energy. And I'm like, oh my, yes, this is good stuff. Oh, this explains a lot. And if it wasn't going to be challenging for me to get back on the stool, I'd be jumping off the stool and going, come on, let's talk about this. So instead, I'll stay on the stool and I will say, let's talk about this, because I'm curious. As you just heard, for me, this says so much. And I can think of so many examples where, going from when I used to believe there was damnation, there was damnation from some external source to me, and that's what I had to be careful about, right? I had to be afraid of being damned or experiencing damnation from an external source or punishment. And it's like, oh, no, there really is in our consciousness of that. But the truth is, I'm the one, because I'm thinking that I'm being punished, or I think I deserve to be punished or damned for a decision I made or something I thought or a mistake that happened. I forgot, or I didn't know then, that I actually could make a new choice, make amends, make a new choice, keep going forward, get a clear vision, and actually find the answer to every problem is in one's own consciousness. What are you going to do about that happened? So you may have some examples of times when either you didn't know, or now you know, but 2 weeks ago you forgot for a moment, because you know how that happens, right? Or in the second paragraph, when it reminds us, when Ernest Holmes reminds us that evolution is the time and the process through which an idea unfolds to manifestation, and that evolution is an effect of infinite intelligence working and knowing how to put the puzzle pieces together step by step or piece by piece. And so it is a natural and expected result of that. It is not the cause of what happens. it is the universe putting together the pieces. So when it happens, it's the effect of the intention that was set. So, and then in that third paragraph, the reminder and the great news that all creation must bring itself into a state of perfect manifestation, because spirit is actually creating itself in an infinite number of forms. So if any of that resonates with you, or you have an example, we've got time now to do what we do every Sunday and talk to each other. Or if you have a question about it, then this would be the time for a question. In case we have people who are with us for the first time, I'm going to ask Ryan to give some instructions about how you can engage in the room or online.
Well, good morning, everybody, and hello to everybody here in the room. Hi, you can wave at me. I'm not that strange, am I? Really? Okay. Anyway, well, hello to all those who are with us on Zoom and on Facebook Live. We have people from all over the world on here, so we love and appreciate whatever time zone you're tuning in on us. So this is an engaging experience, and we ask that people participate. I know it's a little early in the morning, but we definitely want to get some questions and some comments over here to Tracy. Well, we have her here, and there's a couple different ways that we can do that. For those here in the room, I have a magic wand. Ba-tong! I know you guys online can't see what I just did, but it was amazing. And the iconic Richard will be helping me here today. So please wait for the microphone to come to you and just say your name, what your question is, so that way the folks online can hear you. And for the folks here online, I wish I had something that I could do that was special for them. Pa-tong! I'll just do sound effects, I guess. For you, if you have a question or a comment, you can either put it in the chat or you can hit the raise your hand icon located down below, and I can bring you into the room. And for those who are on Facebook Live, wherever you're at in the world, we'd love to hear from you. Make sure to check in and tell us where you're watching us from, and leave your question and comment inside of the comment field, and I'll bring that into the room. And as always, I keep these a secret because we want to create a safe container of spiritual growth. So with that being said, I want to poll the audience here in the room. Does anybody have it? Okay. Sure, do you want to go ahead and get that over to him? All right.
Remember to say your name.
Hi, this is JL. So I guess thoughts that come to mind when I look over this and read and listen to you speak on us kind of unfolding. I think it's a process, right? And we are privileged to be a part of the process of that, but also the process is bigger than us. Because there is other components, like you say, putting the puzzle pieces together. I think the human part of us get caught sometime in trying to put those puzzle pieces together ourselves instead of letting the universe kind of do what it does. It's unfolding and evolving, and it'll do that with or without us, but yet we have the opportunity to lean into what spirit has for us. And I thought that was a really good thought. It was beneficial to me because I'm one of those people who think I know where the puzzle pieces go, and I obviously don't. But I can set an intention, and I know that with that intention, the universe then starts orchestrating on my behalf.
So yes and yes. So there are a couple of pieces that you just brought up that I want to riff on just a little bit. So overall, yes. Now let's go into a couple of the nuances. There is not a process in the universe or in spirit, when it's clear, right, that you're going in this direction, or this is what you want, or this is what you claim, we always say there's only one word in the vocabulary of God, and that word is?
Yes.
I know you all online said it. I just had a little trouble hearing you.
I said it for him. Don't
Right.
worry,
The
Tracy.
universe only says yes. And so where process comes in is, and you described it, I'm just re-emphasizing it. Where the process comes in is in the physical manifestation of moving toward that. There are physical pieces or people that have to fall into place, that have to be brought together in some way. And so, you know, the easy example is someone will say they're ready for a new relationship, and they are like, this is the kind of person I want to be in relationship with. And it's kind of like, well, I've met this person and they have 3 of the 18 things. And it's almost like, well, I'm getting a chance to see and confirm and refine, are these things really important or not? And then the next person comes along and they may have 10 of the 18 things, you know, or for some people, they meet, the next person they meet has 18 of the 18 things plus 5 things they didn't even realize. But it's that movement in time and space that is a process, but it's not that God needs a process. You may be putting out contrary information, and the answer could be right in front of you and you don't actually see it because you're looking for it to look like this, you know. And if the universe was a human entity, you know, it might be saying, girl, I gave it to you. It's right here. Would you look to your left instead of over here looking to your right? You keep looking to your left. All right, I got to move all this stuff over here because you're looking here. Now, obviously, God is not a human being. And so that's just to help our brain kind of consider what's going on. So we talk about there is no process for God. But in the human form, we look for things incrementally, or things have to move. Deepak Chopra answered a woman's question once after a talk, and she said, well, I don't know how I need this amount of money. I don't know how I'm gonna get that amount of money. It's like, it just seemed impossible to her, but she was like, I've gotta have that. And Deepak Chopra turned to her and basically said, the money will move from wherever it is now to where it needs to be. Oh, well, yeah, if I can trust that the universe is going to move the money from wherever it is now to where it needs to be for me to accomplish what I need to accomplish, I can breathe differently, because our theme for this month is Reimagine Faith. And I have faith in that movement. The second thing, though, is related to that. There's not an either or. I let go and God does everything. Spirit, the universe is doing everything, or I control everything and I put everything in place. Okay, it's not one or the other. My job is to clearly define the what. And for myself, maybe even the why. Why do I want that kind of relationship? Why do I want a new black Jaguar car to drive? Why do I want a family? To start a family? Why do I want to go to Thailand? Because that's for me. So I'm clear and I can direct my energy. And it's my job to do anything that's on the human side that relates to confirming for myself my conviction toward that. It's the universe's side to manage the how. How does that happen on the things that you can't do, the things that you can't do without forcing or pushing or ordering, if that makes sense. So, and I know you already know this because you've experienced it, but it's just a reminder when we say, you know, we try to control and then we need to let go and let God. It's not all one or the other. It's a marriage between the two, but we have to be careful that we don't try to over control the how, and that we are looking for the ways that it manifests. So beautiful, JL. Ryan, do we have anybody online?
Yeah, we do. So Armando, do you want to go ahead and unmute yourself and join us?
Armando, good morning.
Good morning, Dr. Tracy. So I've been growing quite a bit, and recently, actually this past week, I've been doubting myself, and I've been questioning, like feeling small. And I know that I've manifested so many things, and I have, as it says in the second paragraph, unfolding to a higher state of manifestation. And
Yes.
and I've been experiencing that, but I've been just as I continue to grow and elevate into bigger circles of people that are like, I don't know, way more important in my mind. And so what happens is that what happened this week was I was busy in the busyness of my organization, and I was so wrapped up, but then I received a phone call from someone that wants to expand into the DeSoto area. And he calls me and he says, I have this 19-year-old young man that needs your help. And he went in and told me the story. And it just reminded me to get grounded, that if it wasn't for this 19-year-old, if it wasn't for the people that I serve, that we serve, and the underserved communities, I wouldn't be able to be busy in the busyness that I'm in. And I just, it was just a really good reminder. And then I also was recently reminded, I talked to one of my mentors and I said, I'm feeling really small. I feel like I'm about to meet, US Congress people, and I just don't know, and on and on. And so I was on a conference call and my phone rang, and it was from Washington. And I'm like, I don't know that number, so I'm not going to pick it up. And in the middle of a conference call, and then that same number rang again. And but I didn't pick it up. So then after my conference call was over, I dialed it back and I said, hello, my name's Armando, and I had a missed call from this number. And they introduced themselves and they said, this is from the Department of the US Treasury. And I'm thinking to myself, how would someone from Washington, from the US Department of Treasury, be calling me? And they said, we saw your presentation that you presented with Federal Reserve Bank of Dallas, and we're going to have an event in later in a couple of months, and we'd like for you to be a part of that. And we wanted to invite you. We wanted to see if you can make yourself available. And it's just allowing God and Spirit to work through me, and that I don't have to get caught up in the details and the how of anything. And it was also like I check in with my spiritual board. And so for me, I felt like my spiritual board said, you know what, you think you feel small? Let me send you this phone call from Washington to remind you of who you are. And so as I continued so I was reminded that as an image is, I'm the same fish. I'm just jumping into bigger fish bowls. And as I jump into bigger fish bowls, I'm going through growing pains, and I'm just having to learn how to maneuver around in that bigger fish bowl that I'm just not accustomed to, that it's unfamiliar to me. That's all it is. But I have to remind myself to continue to allow Spirit and God to work through me, because I manifest. And I mean, this is just one example of many things that have been happening, and I could be here all day talking about all the different manifestations, but I just wanted to get that out and share that, because, even with everything that I do, sometimes I still am human, and sometimes I question and doubt myself.
You're still human? Oh, geez, what a big problem that is. No. Thank you, Armando, because every time you share something like that, not only does it reinforce it for you, because you pulled together the lesson from it, but every one of us who hears it says, oh yeah, I forgot, or oh yeah, I got this new job, or oh yeah, I became a practitioner, oh yeah, I took this class and it seemed like, what am I doing here? But you're there for a purpose. And I love that you also pulled in that it is the evolution, because think about it, Armando, and for most of us, when you think about where you are today compared to even 5 years ago, there are people who would be afraid to talk to you today or feel like they are less than you are today because they're where you were 5 years ago. And you forget, I forget sometimes how far I've come, and I'm comfortable with what I'm doing now. But then when we grow into the next stage, it's like you still get those same feelings. So some of you know, one of my favorite phrases is no doubt, no need to create drama, just keep looking for the demonstration. And Armando, I think you just described that really well. Recognize the doubt. Don't create drama around it to give it more power. And then recognize the things that are happening that are demonstrations of where you have set your intent. And that's where you're going. Wow, beautiful, beautiful. Ryan.
All right. That was a very wonderful thing, Armando. And we all appreciate what you're doing and we support you in your greatness. So I'm going to ask Brenda to go ahead and unmute herself. Brenda, would you like to join the conversation?
Good morning, Dr. Tracy and Ryan and community, and especially Armando. Armando, I want to thank you because you don't know this, but through the last several years, you've been a great inspiration to me. And you spoke in a language I'm going to use for my question. So I am conscious and aware of my evolution from a few years ago to now, and getting better at allowing the unfolding rather than the need to control. I observe myself having grown in the fishbowl, but my challenge, I observe myself getting lots of information for unlearning the untruths and altering the habituated dysfunctions. But I also observe myself still limiting not my knowledge of this truth, but my self-allowance to utilize it, to go from being in the flow to active direction.
Beautiful, Brenda. And Armando said, oh, I'm human. Oh, there's that little thing, that little part that while I know the divinity that is within me, and I know and have awareness of the greatness that I am also human. And there is just something about the human expression that gets attached to limitation. While the divinity within us is saying there is no limitation, you have the infinite, you have this nature of infinity, there is a human. And it makes sense, even on a physical plane. We know the physical body we are in our human experience is going to expire. It's, it is going to die. It is going to disintegrate. It is not, the body is not immortal. The soul is immortal. So Brenda, what I would say is you're more than halfway there because you recognize the pattern and you recognize its habit. So most of us have been socialized and are habituated to fall into the trap of the limitation. And what I love about Ernest Holmes, remember in this section in the general summary, he has gone from here's the information, the awareness, the knowing. You practice, and he does a few pages summarizing all the things about practice and application. And then in this last part of this chapter, he is saying the more we know and practice, we become mystics. We have access to and we become mystics. And then he's describing the mystic does know this and live in this way. But most of us are not 100% mystics. We have mystical experiences, or we feel guided in a way that's mystical. We are embodying the principles because we've been practicing them. So, number one, I'm going to go back to this first paragraph just for you, Brenda. Nobody else, just for Brenda. There is no devil, no damnation outside of one state of thought. There is no punishment outside of that self-inflicted through ignorance, and no salvation outside of conscious cooperation with the infinite. So how do you go beyond the limitation and the habit? Through conscious cooperation with the infinite, conscious cooperation with the infinite, conscious cooperation with the infinite. As a mystic, we often have unconscious, automatic cooperation with the infinite. But whenever we're not there and we notice it, we revert to conscious cooperation with the infinite. We step back into practice because we already have the awareness, or we wouldn't even recognize it. Like, you know, is there anybody online or in the room who sometimes says, you know, before I started studying all this stuff, I was doing it. And now that I know so much, I have to actually think about it. Maybe I want to go back to before, when it was just my natural way of being. And every now and then I say that, but usually I'm glad I have learned what I've learned so I can be in conscious cooperation with the infinite. Anybody else in the room or online?
Well, actually, I'll go to the room here next, but it looks like Armando, do you want to add something else?
No, my
see that-
apologies. I clicked on the wrong, I clicked on it wrong.
Oh,
Apologize.
okay.
Thank
No,
you.
no worries. Thank you. I just wanted to acknowledge that. Anybody else here in the room? It looks like
We're going to
over
go back
here.
to JL.
I just wanted, this is JL. I just wanted to say for Armando in particular, because we've kind of seen, since if you've been at CSL a while, you've seen where Armando started and where he is now, and the manifestation of that. And it's beautiful to witness, right? And what's also beautiful is that it can be any one of us, because we are the collective. We are Christ consciousness. We are manifestation of, and we're all doing it. Like, we all can do it. And so thank you for your comment, Armando. I'm so proud of you, and I'm so excited to see that.
You better preach, girl. I think, Armando, that JL said what many of us have been thinking. And for those of you who are in the room or who are online in virtual land who have not been with CSL Dallas for a long time, and you're like, what are you talking about? You know, just go to your internet search and search for Cardboard Project Armando, and you will find out why we are all so grateful to have the example and to be in the world with Armando. So this is there's a lot on this one page. There is a lot. on this one page, page 420 in the textbook. And I just want to give you one more chance. If there's a comment, an example that you have, or question before I wrap it up. Okay.
No, but I wanted to say that Armando in the chat just thanks everybody for the love and the support. And it's cardboardproject.org for those online. I put it in the chat for those in the room. Cardboardproject.org.
Great, thanks. So we're going through the general summary, as I mentioned at the top, and we only have a couple more pages in it. And this section is really reminding us that every one of us has been designed. We have been created by design. Design. It's not coincidence. We have been created by design to have the experience of the mystic. And I'm just wanting to encourage you in the coming week to think about, oh, spiritually, what's happening here? What are the spiritual laws or the spiritual principles that are happening right now? And if there are things in my life, whether they're things I'm loving or things that I'm worried about or doubting, what is it that I can do in the way that I practice my spirituality that gets me focused on what I want and the direction I want to go, the outcome that I desire? And then look also at how that's happening. That's what's happening here. Oh, this change is happening. How is it contributing to moving me toward answered prayer? And today in the celebration service, we will be thinking and talking about how we can actually do that. What do we contribute to the process of manifestation, and how does our approach to life contribute? Like if you're in technology, you may be familiar with the old classic, right? Garbage in, garbage out. If you program the wrong thing in, you're going to get the wrong thing out. Same thing with faith. What do you have faith in? What are you putting in? And what do you get out? And if you have never heard Joe Tinker speak, then you want to join us for our celebration service today, because he has got a message for you. My name is Tracy Brown. This is the Sunday morning Science of Mind class. Thank you for being here in the room and online, and we will see you next Sunday at 9:15 a.m. Central Time. Have a great week, everybody.